Hello, impactful parents. Today we're going to talk about getting your child to listen better and to stop those eye rolls that you're probably getting from your preteen or teen, maybe even younger kid. Hello, if you don't know, my name is Christina Campos and I'm founder of The Impactful Parent. And every week I come on and answer one of your questions live right here. Oh, let me plug in my microphone. I forgot to plug my microphone in. Give me a second. I want to do that really quick so that you guys can hear me nice and good. And so today, if you have a question that you want to ask for next week, please direct message me or you can email me at theimpactfulparent@gmail.com. And let's get to our question. Hopefully everybody can hear me nice and good now that I have my microphone in front of me. All right, here we go. So the question today is, my preteen and I are starting to butt heads, and it feels like they aren't listening to me anymore, and my sweet daughter is becoming a diva. What irritates me most is how much she rolls her eyes at me. How can I stop this now before it gets worse? Well, thank you for submitting this question, and all questions are always anonymous, but thank you for submitting this, and yeah, you are not alone. This is such a common problem. So today I'm going to give you 4 tips for how you can not only connect with your child better, but hopefully stop some of those eye rolls to come. And the 4th tip, that's my favorite. So I hope you stick around to that one. So tip number 1, let's go ahead and get started. Tip number 1 is calm yourself down first. Now, I know this is kind of a no-brainer, but when our kids get us angry or annoyed, we tend to talk down to them in our anger. It's a bad habit that many parents get hooked on when our kids are small because younger kids, they just take it. And as children get older, they begin to resent you for how you might be talking down to them. This is sometimes when some of those eye rollings start because it's a passive-aggressive way for your child to say to you, hey, I don't like how you're talking to me, so they roll their eyes. Now, as your child gets older, they begin to resent you for how you may be talking down to them. So to stop yourself from yelling or speaking from anger or disappointment, it's important that parents pause for a moment, collect themselves, and calm down first. If I'm angry, I tell my kids that I'm mad. I say, hey, I am mad at you right now. I need 5 minutes to collect myself before addressing the problem. Now, this role modeling is awesome for the kids to see, and it gives me a few minutes to collect my own feelings. Because remember, how you respond to your child's behavior will greatly impact how that whole scene unfolds. So instead of starting with big eye rolls from your passive-aggressive child, we want to calm ourselves down and talk in a normal voice. Yelling at your child will either put them also into a fight or flight mode. Flight is a cowering state of being, just as they may have reacted when they were a child. They just kind of take it and they cower. But as they get older, a lot of teenagers start to experiment with the fight mode, which will have your child standing up for themselves and yelling back at you. Now, those are primitive responses ingrained in every person when they feel like they're being attacked. So we don't want to trigger those emotions or those responses. And that's why we want to start a dialogue instead. So I'm hoping that by calming down and talking in a normal voice, you're going to avoid some of those eye rolls and some of that fight response that may be happening more and more as your child gets older. Now, my tip number 2 is make sure that you're not lecturing. Don't lecture your child. We here on The Impactful Parent talk about school-age children, and older kids already know what they did wrong. As a younger child, you're teaching them when they do something bad or make some kind of mistake or whatever, you're teaching them right from wrong as they are younger. But as they get older, they don't need that kind of guidance. They need help learning from their mistakes and understanding the consequences of their actions instead. So our shift as a parent our role shifts a little bit as a parent as our child gets older when they do make mistakes. This is where your focus should be. So lecturing will only lead to more eye rolls and kids will start to pull away from you. Instead, start asking questions to help your child learn from their mistakes. And to help you with this, I'm going to give you a free download today. It's a free PDF, absolutely free. It's called Questions to Ask Your Child so that they will learn from their mistakes. And you can find that in the show notes down below, which I will do once this broadcast is over, since this is live. And you can also go to theimpactfulparent.com/learning questions. Now, older kids don't need parents to tell them not to make bad decisions. They know that. They need their parents to redirect them, helping them recognize the consequences of their choices, and then how to make better choices for the next time so that they're actually learning. That's where this PDF is going to help you, and it's absolutely free. I hope you go and check it out. Again, it's at theimpactfulparent.com/learning questions to get this free resource. Now, my third tip to you is let your child talk. Okay. Sometimes as your child gets older, they want a voice. Actually, not sometimes, all the time. They need it. Children need you to hear them. Even if you don't agree with your young human, they need to feel like they have been heard. Otherwise, they're going to resent you. So I highly suggest that you ask your child when they are actually in a good mood, maybe in the car sometime today, if they feel like you hear them, if they really feel heard in the household. You might be surprised by their response. But either way, strive to let your child have a voice and then rephrase what you hear them say and what you see them doing. When you summarize what you hear them saying, it creates a space for them to feel understood. And if what you rephrased back to them isn't correct, it gives them an option to correct you also, and now you can become on the same page. Either way, it's a win-win situation. So instead of commanding and demanding or criticizing when you want your child to do something, try to describe what you see instead. And let me give you an example of this so you can see what I'm talking about. Don't say, "Put your books away." Okay, very common thing. Maybe "Put your shoes away, put your books away." That's going to invoke that eye roll. And it's very direct. It's kind of gives you that fight or flight response. Instead, try saying, "I see that you put your books on the table again. Please move them before dinner." See how the sentiment on the second sentence is a lot softer. I'm still being direct. I'm telling my child what I need from them to do, but I start the conversation by describing what I see. So that gives them it gives them an opportunity to see what they did that you don't really approve of or you want to be changed. Then you make the request, "Please move them before dinner." You'll have noticed that with my own teenagers, I give them a time slot of when they need to get the demand that I'm asking finished before dinner. I don't say "right here, right now." Again, "right here, right now" is going to give you, give your teenager that eye roll effect again, because you're pretty much demanding that they do everything on your time schedule and on your demand. So when you say "please move them before dinner," I'm giving them this time frame, which actually gives your child a little bit more power. It says to them, "Okay, I know I got to do it before dinner, but now I have a little bit of choices here. I can choose to do it right now. I can choose to do it 10 minutes from now, or I can choose to do it at the very last second." Just as a side note, my kids also know the consequences of not following through with some of the things that I ask them for. And so those are very clear in my household. I suggest that also. But with this particular request, that's how I would do it. Don't say, "Put your books away." Instead, try saying, "I see that your books are on the table again. Please move them before dinner." And it's very firm. Another example of this is, let's say your child was preparing for an exam and they didn't do too well. Instead of saying a comment like, "I can't believe that you failed that exam," instead try saying something like, "I thought you felt really ready for that exam. I'm surprised that you got a D. What do you think happened?" Again, see how the sentiment feels different to your child. So now the second sentence is not as threatening. It's open to a conversation. And that's what you want to do in order to avoid the big eye roll of, "Why did you fail that exam?" It makes it softer so you can say, "I really thought you were ready. I saw you studying for it. I'm surprised you got the D. What do you think happened?" It opens it up for conversation. And tip number 4 that I want to suggest for you today is try to phase out the outright no. What I mean by this is when you say no very strongly to someone, again, you're going to evoke that eye roll and that fight or flight response. And how you say no to your child really matters. If you say no in a harsh tone, you're automatically going to invoke that fight. So your child will immediately get defensive. To avoid this, I suggest that you phrase your no with a yes included. And let me give you an example of this so you know what I'm talking about. Your child might ask you if they can meet up with, let's say, a friend after school. You know that your family already has other commitments, so you're going to have to say no to this request. Well, try to couple your no with some kind of yes. So this is what I would say in this scenario. Of course, you can see your friends after school, but I can't have you do that today. We already have plans. But I will call Jake's mom and see if maybe she can pick you up from school tomorrow and you can meet with him tomorrow after school instead. See what I did there? I said no to the moment, but I also gave them the opportunity to say a yes for later. When you couple the no with the yes, it just makes the child focus a little bit more on the positive than the harsh no, which is going to be invoking that fight mode of, why not? I don't understand. So you're shifting that focus to, I do want to say yes to you. I'm not trying to be mean. Let's figure out a time that's going to work. Now, your child might still have trouble accepting the no, but I find that this technique helps children not focus on the negative quite as much, and the pushback isn't as strong. You may want to strive for coupling your no with a conditional yes also. So for teenagers, let's say, for example, your child wants an extra hour of video gaming with their buddies, but you don't like the idea of more screen time. Maybe you can compromise with your teen by saying something like, sure, you can have an extra hour of screen time tonight as long as the homework is done and you go for a walk with me around the park after school for 30 minutes. See, I don't really say no. Instead, I say yes, but with conditions. And for this particular instance, I may not like that my child does extra screen time, but because I had 30 minutes of some one-on-one time with my child to go around the park and we're able to get my child out of the house and off of a screen for at least 30 minutes, that makes me a little bit more comfortable about allowing them to spend some extra time with their friends online. So for me, that's a compromise. And as your child gets older, we're going to have to be working on a lot of these compromises and getting a little bit more lenient. But in order to save some of these battles that you're going to be having with your emerging teenager or teenager, this technique of coupling your no with some sort of yes can be really effective. Now, these are only a few tips to get you started for communicating with your preteen or teen better, but I hope it helps. And as your child gets older, you'll need to become more flexible and creative with your responses, which isn't always easy, but you can do it with practice. It's difficult for parents to shift from that authoritarian, no, because I said so response to a more lenient response, like I suggested today. But in the long run, if you can practice this, it really can help your relationship with your child. So I hope this helps. If you have a question for me for next week, please submit it. You can direct message me on social media, or you can email me at theimpactfulparent@gmail.com. But until next time, you got this, parents. I'm just here to help. Thanks, everyone.